I'm Marissa.
And I'm Roger.
And we're consultants here at 555 based in Melbourne, Australia.
We're partnering with For Change Co to support their vision from an Australia free from youth homelessness. There are currently 28,000 young Australians who are homeless right now. The Change Co provide ongoing employment opportunities through their training program.
Our research was underpinned by the COBME model to behaviour change to understand barriers to donation.
This research has enabled For Change Co to better understand who their customers are and the key drivers and barriers to donating, informing their comm strategy and unlocking growth to drive greater impact. We are passionate about helping the next generation and helping to build sustainable business models around the world.
We can't thank you enough for this opportunity, and we can't wait to show you our work on the global stage.
Hello everyone, today we have with us Roger and Marissa. They are the local winners of RGT 2022 in Australia. Right now it's 10 a.m. in Amsterdam and it's 8 in the afternoon in Australia, so there is a huge time difference, but we are super happy to have managed a spot for this interview. I'm thrilled to have you here, both Marissa and Roger, and get to know a little bit more about your project, the great project you have done, which supports the vision to free Australia from young homeless. So the floor is yours. Please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit more about you.
Awesome. So I'm Marissa. Thank you so much for having us. So I'm a consultant here at 555, which is based in Melbourne, Australia. So it is indeed 8 p.m. at the moment. I've been working in research almost as long as Rog. We've known each other for a super long time, since 2016 actually. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, so I'm Roger. I'm a consultant here at 555 as well, working in the industry for almost 8 years, I think. Marissa and I started in the industry in a similar time period, so we kind of have grown in the industry together over time.
Wow, it's so nice to have young researchers, but at the same time, even though you're super young, you have a background on this. And how did you choose this topic? How did you came up with this great idea?
So we've followed our chosen organisation For Change Co since they've started in 2015. So when we first heard about Research Got Talent and that you had to work with a not-for-profit organisation, we immediately knew who we wanted to work with. So it's been really great for us to have that experience with them and not just watch from afar, but really contribute and help grow their organisation too.
Yeah, because the situation in Australia regarding youth homeless is worrying, right? Right now, it's a huge problem. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about this? How can it be prevented? How is it right now?
So currently, 1/3 of Australians that are facing homelessness are actually under the age of 25. So we've got about 28,000 young people experiencing homelessness every night at the moment, which is quite shocking. We do know that around 1 in 2 Australians actually believe that youth homelessness is becoming worse over time. And with the current cost of living concerns, it means the situation is just continually getting worse. So it's quite a stressful and horrific time at the moment. So the way that this can be prevented is through meaningful employment, really helping to create those pathways out of homelessness as early as possible. And that's through providing the right opportunities as well as education. And what that does is it helps to break the cycle. And over time, we hope to start seeing less and less youths in this situation.
Yeah, for the audience to know, For Change Co. Is the non-profit organization that Marissa and Roger worked with, and they do a great job helping youth to prevent. They do two different things, right? They help young homeless, but also they help preventing these big issues, right? Do you want to explain us a little bit more about the great job they do, their objectives, their philosophy?
Yeah, definitely. So For Change Co, they're a social enterprise, which means that 100% of their profits go towards supporting youth homelessness. So how they do this is that they have currently 5 cafe venues in Melbourne, Australia. And what they do is they hire those under the age of 25 years old who are currently experiencing or at risk of homelessness. And they take them through a training program, which they call the Home Plate Training Program. This program goes for around 6 to 8 months, and those trainees work from the quietest venues to build their skills and confidence, and they work their way up into the busier venues. So hopefully by the end of the program, they are either working more with For Change Co or with their other partners with full-time employment. So it's really about breaking that cycle and providing them with the basic skills and necessities in life to really go out on their own and create a future for themselves.
It is a beautiful project. And also, so that the audience know, it is amazing that more than the 90% of the graduates have moved to a further education employment after completing the program. So it's not only a beautiful project, but also a really effective one. That is great. And also a big challenge that they are facing right now is that even though they do a great job, most of their consumers don't know the reason and the cause behind it, right? So one of the big objectives that you had was also actually deep and get to know the audience they had, the customers they had, in order to raise awareness of this project. What was the methodology that you used for this project in order to achieve these objectives?
Yeah, so when we initially spoke to Levi and Neil, who are both the co-founders of For Change Co, they basically mentioned to us that they wanted to better understand how can they really utilize the cafe venues to generate additional funds through customer donations in order to drive that greater impact. So they knew that they were already profitable. So it was how can they push that further to really help more youths. So what we did is developed a multi-stage mixed methodology. We actually started with a nationally representative study across Australia to really understand some of those broader perceptions that are happening in terms of homelessness more broadly, but also down to youth specifically, and understand that donating behaviour that's happening now and what changes are happening. Especially coming off the back of COVID lockdowns here in Melbourne, and understanding how that's impacted financial situations. We then designed a methodology which explored, sized, and co-created potential solutions. And what we did was anchor that on the combi model of behaviour change. And we spoke to current and potential customers as well to understand, over and above awareness, how we can drive people into cafes and then drive them to make that that donation. So the key kind of outcome of the research was to identify the key drivers and barriers to encourage customers to contribute and donate to For Change Co. So yeah, definitely quite a few stages involved.
It was a really good and also broad project at the same time, because you used a lot of methods, different methods. And we would love to know, what would you say that are the barriers for donors to this cause?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the biggest barriers that we found in the research was that a lot of the customers who went to For Change Co cafes didn't actually know that it was a social enterprise. For Change Co, the ongoing conversation is around how much do they want to advertise that this is a social enterprise, because they are a fantastic cafe, or their cafes are really great on their own. So what's that balance between being a cafe venue but also a place for trainees to learn new skills? So there's not a lot of signage in store that really tells the story, but from our research, customers really do want to know that type of information in order for them to want to donate. From there, when they want to donate, we need to make sure that it's easy for them to do so. And the previous systems were not as easy to use, and that didn't really facilitate an easy or seamless experience. So we've really worked with them to really enable customers to, if they want to donate, have that opportunity to do so in a really easy way, with like online or digitally.
Yeah, that's a really good point actually about donations. It has to be easy and it cannot be time consuming for the people who wants to help. So that's a great point of view. And I would love to know, how do people perceive, what are the attitudes towards these non-profit organizations?
Currently in Australia, it's a bit of a odd place with NGOs. So historically, there has been some cases of different charities that have potentially misused funds. And what this has done is created a bit of a barrier in the minds of consumers. And it is a bit of a generational issue as well. For example, baby boomers having potentially a stronger negative perception. And what this does is it means there is, I guess, more of a barrier for them to actually exhibit that behavior, because they're concerned that unless they have the transparency of the NGO to show where the money's being spent, they worry that that might be misused and therefore not helping those in need. So Australia's perceptions are positive in wanting to help, but there is that barrier that their help might not be going anywhere.
Yeah, and we found that in the focus groups, especially when we brought up the topic around for Change Co. They wanted to know who they are, where their dollars are going, how much of the dollars are going towards, CEO salaries or whatnot, and exactly what is the type of impact that I can make from my contributions. So providing a step-by-step guide of this is where your funds will be going will enable them to want to help rather than being asked and feeling that it's not something for them.
Of course, and this is also motivating, I guess, for donors, because if they know what they are doing with their money and that they can actually have an impact, because of course every donor can do, even if it's a small impact, they can change the situation of a person who is living in a disadvantaged situation. So I think I completely agree with you. Transparency here is a huge point. And lastly, I would like to know what were the main challenges that you had to face in this huge project that you have done.
Yeah, we actually had to pivot pretty quickly in our approach. What For Change Co. had running when we first wanted to kick off the project was actually a end of financial year fundraiser, and that was through QR codes at their cafes. And actually, our first stage was our quant survey utilizing QR codes in their cafes. So what we did was we, of course, didn't want to impact any sort of performance on the in terms of donations that they were getting, especially because the whole point of this project was to support that behavior change to drive donations. So we kind of utilized the end of financial year campaign as part of our research, kind of understanding the impact that that was having as a standalone kind of option for them. But also what we did was we pivoted in terms of the order of things. So we actually brought 2 focus groups rather than having all 4 in the back end. We brought 2 forward to the front end. And what that did was create a bit of a benchmark for us, understand what some of those drivers and barriers are, and really start to build up that combi model. We then took that into the quant to size those behaviors. And then we then used the 2 groups in the back end to co-create what the offer might look like and look into communications and things. So our first barrier was really their donation drive.
And another one we had was around the survey itself. Once we got around to it in the cafes, we did expect or anticipate that the response rate might be a bit lower as customers come in just for a coffee, and making them do a survey is sometimes a challenge. So we worked really closely with the team there. The staff are really lovely. They encouraged their customers to do the survey. They posted on their social medias. We made a lot of different posters and also had a prize draw as well to really facilitate a higher response rate. And we found that to work quite well. But during this process itself, we got to work much more closely with For Change Co's team. So we were springboarding different ideas throughout and understanding what was working, what were the key messages that were resonating with customers too. So it was a great experience to try and test and learn and provide those ongoing kind of learnings and action plans throughout.
That's great. And also, I'm sure that this direct interaction with customers, when you encourage them to fill the survey and give their feedback, I mean, it also helps raise awareness and show them the cause, like all the reason behind For Change Co. Because if they don't know, of course, they don't feel encouraged. They don't feel encouraged to actually fill the surveys. So I'm sure this research will be used for setting an easy and practical framework, including practical actions in store, in the staff training, and the process itself of Change Co. It has been proved that the way this NGO communicates to their donors can make a huge difference. So thank you, Marisa, and thank you, Roger, for reminding us how important it is to give others a change and an opportunity, as anyone can succeed when they have the proper support. So thank you very much for this project and also for this interview.
Thank you so much.